Namaskar and welcome to Sunset Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our special show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the global supply chain management. Now, the global supply chain management disruptions have become a major challenge for the economy at a global level since the start of COVID pandemic. According to the OECD, higher commodity prices and global shipping costs are currently adding 1.5% to inflation across G20 nations. By December, it could increase to 1.75% and further up by 1% in 2022. The OECD estimates also suggest that the drag from the pandemic and supply bottlenecks is unlikely to ease in 2021. Now, on the sidelines of the G20 summit, several world leaders, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on Sunday participated in a summit on strengthening global supply chains. Now, this summit, convened by US President Joe Biden, discussed ways in which governments can elevate pressure points in the global supply chain ecosystem by working together and with the private sector as well. Prime Minister Modi underlined three critical aspects of trusted source, transparency, and time frame for improving the supply chains. All participating countries discussed the strengthening key pillars of global supply chain resilience, namely transparency, security, sustainability, diversity, openness, and predictability. In this episode, we will discuss and analyze all aspects of this issue. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me first introduce them to you. Beginning with, we have with us in the studio Professor Charan Singh. He is the CEO of eGrow Foundation. We're also joined by Professor Arvind Mohan from the Department of Economics in the University of Lucknow. And we have Mr. Anil Arora as well, member of the CII National Committee on Logistics with us. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Sunset TV. Let me begin with you, Professor Charan Singh, and let's start by first understanding the overall concept of global supply chain management and the bottlenecks therein, which we are trying to look at right now. And globally, the world leaders are also trying to find solutions to them.
So there's a very important issue that has cropped up. You have shared the statistics, which is having implications on inflation now. The issues are that before COVID, things were moving smoothly. Everybody knew who's manufacturing, the shipping were in place, and things were reaching in place in time. Now what has happened is, because of COVID, different people have been impacted differently. In some countries, there has been the first wave and the second wave. That Delta wave has come later. In other countries, the demand has already picked up because they've recovered from COVID. Now, because of this, call it asymmetric recovery, the demand has also been very asymmetric. Similarly, the supply has been very asymmetric. Take the example of Vietnam. The Delta variant is playing havoc there. Therefore, production is there, but coming and loading it in trucks and moving it in the ships is not taking place. Because of these labor issues, as well as bottlenecks in terms of supply of goods, the turnaround time for ships at the ports has also changed.
Okay.
Take another example of USA and Germany. There's a shortage of truckers there. Now, therefore, things are getting manufactured, but moving them to the port, then the turnaround time at the port is taking longer than what was expected. And now the ships are getting stuck there.
Even the similar situation in the United Kingdom as well.
Yes, exactly. And that is why Biden mentioned in his talk that the two ports that they're going to activate, instead of 8 hours a shift, 5 days a week, they're going to make it 24-hour shift, 7 days a week. Because the turnaround time is taking too much. So because of these bottlenecks, then what happens? Demand has picked up in various parts of the world. Countries are demanding the products. Even in India, festival season, and we are also demanding our products, especially cars. The semiconductors are getting delayed, and that is why the whole demand gets impacted. The supply doesn't reach in time. So what should be done now? As you beautifully summarized in your presentation, our Prime Minister said there has to be trust, there has to be transparency, and there has to be timely delivery of things.
Okay, trust, transparency, and timely delivery. Those are the three key issues. We'll come to this aspect of what needs to be done. But since you, elaborately explained the bottlenecks, let's also look at the key areas where these bottlenecks or these hurdles are affecting. And I'll bring in Mr. Arora here. Mr. Arora, what are the major industries, major segments of the market which are impacted by this, these hurdles in the supply chain management?
So if I was to talk about the global scenario, then the biggest hit is to the exporters, and getting in containers in time. Forget the pricing, and the inflation. So for a short period of time, maybe they can take the inflation in the container price and in the transport cost and all that. But the pure availability of and predictability of containers landing in at the manufacturing setup for an export consignment, wherein a consignment is usually more often than not completely time bound, is what is hurting. What's the prima donna of the pain? Then correlated to that, there is raw material import. Although all economies are trying now post-COVID world, they're trying to be self-sufficient on the raw material front, but it's not going to happen in a day. It's going to take a serious amount of time to get there.
Okay.
So still there is a lot of raw material needed to be imported for local manufacturing of goods also, and for return export also. So this imbalance in global trade has largely impacted the exporters, then the people who import and export both, and then finally the domestic. I mean, you can see the example in cars and all, the way there is a shortage of raw materials, chips, and all that, which is hitting up the local market also.
Okay.
So if I was to categorize, these are the three categories getting hit.
Okay, okay. So it's a global as well as domestic phenomena here. We're also feeling the heat there. Professor Arvind, I'd like to bring you in here on these two aspects. As you heard, both Professor Charan as well as Mr. Arora there. In both terms, the hurdles or the bottlenecks which are there and the impacted areas also in the market.
See, there are rather, I'll want to mention three important things. It has been rightly mentioned that there have been serious disruptions. COVID has disrupted everything possible. Way of doing things is one of the major casualties. And naturally, there has been asymmetric changes both in demand as well as in supply. So disruptions happened. Now when the recovery is happening, the recovery is not homogeneous, not similar all along. And that obviously is causing challenges, as already been mentioned. I think we should also look at the possible opportunities which are coming up here. So I think in both in short run and long run, short run we have very serious challenges. But I think long run, COVID has changed the way the world is going to function in future also. And that should be seen as an opportunity for our local manufacturers. Local supply chains is what we need to develop adequately, because if similar recurrences happen, whether this virus or some other similar pandemic happens in future, I think the world has to be prepared for that. And for that, Make in India kind of idea, which the Prime Minister has been promoting for long, I think that is something which has to be put somewhere in the center. And along that, we need to understand that global disruptions will remain.
Okay.
So a country like India has to prepare itself. That's one thing. The third important thing that I'll want to add is, even before COVID happened, India had serious logistics challenges. For example, annually, we are losing close to around 2 lakh crore worth of agri-produce. It goes rotten because we don't have adequate storage facility, warehouses are not there, logistics lines are not there, cold chains are not there. So even when we look at this story beyond COVID and its impact, I think India itself has serious logistics issues. If we are able to correct that, I think easily we can add at least 1.5 to 2% addition to our GDP growth can happen merely by putting logistics in place.
Okay.
Even before COVID, we had this challenge.
Okay, okay, that's indeed really important there, Professor Singh. In terms of making use of what we have, and logistics does play a very significant key role, specifically in sectors like agriculture or the consumer goods as well, the perishable goods market. But looking at the larger picture again, and I'd like to bring you in here in terms of the key focus areas which the world leader seemingly has identified. You mentioned 3 points which the Prime Minister spoke about, and the others, sustainability, predictability, openness, the trust factor also being there. So if you have to make our viewers understand, why are we looking at it in this way, and what's the benefit? How will we be able to untangle this problem here vis-a-vis the supply chain management?
That's a beautiful question, and I, being an old man in the team, I would like to take you back a few years. Remember PL 480, when we were we were dependent on the world for food, and we were almost blackmailed for that. That's when the Green Revolution started in our country. In COVID, what did we realize? Two things. Firstly, the world, and I would blame the multilateral institutions like IMF, World Bank, WTO. The world ignored the monopolization of production in China. It shouldn't have happened. We all know, don't place all your eggs in the same basket, but the world did it. And then China became the manufacturing hub of the world. And now something happened in China and everybody realized there's utter disruption taking place. The second, when trade wars take place, and trade wars take place all the time. They've been taking place in the last 50 years everywhere. Even in India, we have suffered. When trade wars take place, if there's monopoly of production in one single country, they can do anything. And that's exactly what Biden is getting worried now. He says that while the trade war is taking place between the mighty America and China, which wants to take over the crown of the world, the trade war is now getting disrupted. The production is getting disrupted. The supply chain is getting disrupted. China can easily manipulate and impact everybody else in the world if they don't play to the tune of China. So that is why the word sustainable has become very important. And that is why the word trusted, which the Prime Minister used, has become very important. Will you be able to inspire confidence that whatever happens on the trade war, the supply will not be impacted? That is why the world has suddenly stood up and said, look, something is wrong, seriously wrong. Now what can be done? Diversification is the standard thing. Which is the best candidate for diversification? Mighty India. We have had a history of 3,000 years of the golden bird in the world, the richest in the world. We can resume that capacity. Why should we do it? Computers and Sanskrit, they go hand in hand. We have the skills. We have the demographic dividend sitting with us. We have Virgin Northeast sitting with us. We have different climate zones within our country. Please remember, India is not a country, it's a continent. Other countries have a population of 3 crore, 5 crore. Look, we just now said there's a shortage of truckers in US and Germany. Have we ever thought of shortage like this? We have the people, we have the resources. So we have to diversify and diversify into countries which have the same ethos like India, demographic, and they will not disrupt by their historical ethical values. They will not disrupt supply in days to come. We have proven it. We have had difficult times. We never did anything with our debt. We stood by it. International obligations have always been met by India. During COVID, despite domestic pressure, the Prime Minister Modi made sure international commitments of supplying vaccines are not disrupted, despite massive criticism within the country. That is trusted. That is sustainable. And that is what we need, the world needs to look at and go to.
Okay. Professor Arvind, would you agree with what Professor Charan is pointing out here? India being a very key player when we are trying to look at the global solutions for this supply chain, hurdles or supply chain bottlenecks there, and the way India can contribute there. You earlier pointed out we have to obviously put several things in order, vis-a-vis our own logistics management as well. But then at the same time, simultaneously, if we work on both the fronts, as Professor Charan is saying, it becomes easier for us and for the world as well.
I think Professor Charan has raised a very relevant point, that China became the monopoly supplier to the world. That has already started changing and it needs to change fast. And much of the world is actually looking towards India for a possible China plus one story. Gradually, I think it's going to be at least China plus 3 or 4. But India certainly figured somewhere. So we have to soon buckle up. We have to stand up to the occasion. So it's both an opportunity and a responsibility. India has critical advantage there. When you are looking at the markets available across the world, I think we are one of the largest markets available in the world, along with China. And this market itself needs lots of things for consumption. Over a period of time, as our incomes are rising, as the nation is rising, our demand for variety of products is rising. We already have large number of raw material available with us. But that is where lots of investment is needed. Lots of infrastructural challenges to be addressed. So we have not focused at logistics lines as a possible engine of growth in 21st century.
Okay.
And I think along with many other engines, along with engine of knowledge particularly, this engine of logistics lines is something where India has a huge opportunity because there is a huge gap already in existence. So
Okay.
whether it's agriculture or whether it is industry, I think we should use it as an opportunity for possible growth injection in India and also for possible employment generation injection is a huge opportunity which India needs to stand up.
Okay. Mr. Arora, do you
And
agree? As
China
far
is-
as logistics industry is concerned, that is where the key focus here is right now.
Yeah, and I would just like to add two things. One, it's very easy to just say that the governments or the bilateral agencies didn't do anything. Professor Charan Singh, I would like to add that even the private enterprise went in for the lowest cost of manufacturing first for last 20 years, right? So even they didn't look at sustainability, they didn't look at, transparency. They just looked at the price, and China just fed that need. So what happened is that there was nobody pulling out the referee's flag, right, and saying that this is wrong, guys. Secondly, China's been very smart. I mean, we have to give the devil its due. Along with the production lines, they started owning the shipping assets. They started owning the logistics assets. So what they did is not only corner the production bit, but corner majority of the logistics assets in the world. So now today, even if you don't want to manufacture in China, right, you still have to use Chinese logistics assets, and which they are not letting go.
Okay.
So the global container shortage or whatever, one thing is that the balance is disturbed. The other thing is even the supply is cornered by China.
Okay.
So we have to take a learning from this. And when we do our go forward manufacturing strategy, we also have to do a go forward logistics strategy as to how on long term sustainable basis we will be the biggest beneficiary of the China plus one strategy that every supply chain manager in the world has today as a mandate from the board.
Okay. Okay. But Mr. Arora, the world leaders are also pointing out in terms of what needs to be done. And they're not only talking about, the key focus areas or the governments working with each other, as you're saying. The private sector also seemingly find a very important mention there. So from the industry's perspective, what is it that needs to be done apart from the points which you have mentioned and, both Professor Charan Singh and Professor Arvind has pointed out?
So we have to listen to what our country has been saying all along, be Indian, buy Indian. The moment you do that, most of the things you try and insulate yourself to as far as possible. Yes, it's a global economy, but let's not forget that our economy size and complexity allows us to source everything within the country. So let's not just go for price. Let's go for nearshoring first. And sustainability of supply, let's look at that as a matrix or as a key result of our efforts going forward.
Okay. 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 Professor Charan Singh, do you agree? These two concepts are working in tandem with each other, as in when we are looking at the global supply chain management issue, as you're pointing out, India has a larger role to play. We have the wherewithal, both in terms of demography and resources as well. That also translates into the other part, the other concepts, as Mr. Arora was pointing out, vocal for local.
Look, this is a very complex issue. When you're suffering from poverty and you're a country which is not very rich, close shoring, and the cheapest price, there's always a dilemma. Look at the Diwali festival. Lights are on. And look, where have they all come from? They're all come from China. They're so cheap. No Indian manufacturer is venturing that price. The manufacturers have also to think that the country is poor and they will go for the cheapest that is available. Secondly, quality. Quality also, if they do not get the quality for the price, the consumer will still choose the foreigner. Now the issue is, the point which Mr. Arora made is very, very important. What is the government doing for it? And what's the private sector doing for it? The private sector is, of course, showing their intention. You have just heard Mr. Arora from CI. I'm from SHM. SHM also does that. The government is setting up an infrastructure plan, huge infrastructure plan. They're connecting waterways. They want the railways to become efficient. They want the roadways to become efficient. That's part of the logistics strategy that is being adopted.
Indeed.
No country can become a $5 trillion, $10 trillion or the richest country on the planet. Even when we were the richest 3,000 years ago, government was governance,
Okay.
not business. That's exactly what the present government is trying to say. I want the private sector to come up. They're thinking of privatization. They're thinking of asset monetization. That's exactly the direction that they're showing. So the private sector has now to come up and say, we have broad shoulders. While the government wants to shed its responsibility, here are the strong shoulders you can lend and work on. So I think there has to be a two-way strategy.
Okay.
While the government is letting go of the national assets and giving them ready assets to work and make profits, generate employment, the private sector has also to come and say, okay, I have a role to play and this is what I can do. The consumers, whosoever can afford, should then go for nearshoring rather than only going for the cheapest.
Okay, okay. But when we're looking at the global scenario as well, this is about India and India's role, but there are several other nations, developed countries, developing countries. They also have a important role to play when we're trying to address the challenges of the supply chain management on a global level. What is it, Professor Charan Singh, that can be expected of them to put their best foot forward? Because we are fighting on many fronts right now, a pandemic being one, the climate change obviously being the other one. And, in midst of all this, we have to ensure that our supply chains are perfect.
I think you're right. Other countries have also a role to play, a very important role to play. If we have to diversify, then where do we diversify? Just should it be India and China? 9 lakh companies, foreign companies operate in China. Will all the 9 lakh come to India? Already Bangladesh, Vietnam, Estonia, they're playing a role in taking some of those companies. Similarly, other countries in the world will have to play a role and ensure similar logistics thing. But which is the country which is on the forefront, which can claim competition with China? It's obviously India. Why? Because as I told you, the demographic dividends, it has a very robust financial system. It also has very good regulators, the RBI and SEBI.
Indeed.
Now, it also has very good stock markets, which are totally transparent. So at this point of time, I don't see much competition for India to take over the mantle.
Okay.
It's almost ready, but then there are other countries which can play a role, and those are the countries like South Africa, Indonesia. They also have raw materials, they also have space, some of them also have demographic benefits. They will have to start playing a role globally. And I think these countries have been suppressed for too long for various reasons. America, now that it is waking up, if it wants to really fight a trade war with China and create a genuine competition, America will have to support them and bring them so that they can fight the battle.
Okay, okay. Quick concluding comments from you, Professor Arvind. As you know, Professor Charan is pointing out, India remains the cornerstone of, trying to find or look at the solutions of this supply chain management bottlenecks. But if you have to look at the global scenario, nations like South Africa, Indonesia, and few more, they do have a lot of pitching in to do.
I think we should be both prepared and facilitating for a possible world where China plus 3, I think, is what's going to happen. So if some South Africa also rise and some other country also rise along with, I think India needs to prepare itself to become China plus 1. I think we are better placed than any of these possible competitors. So we have to prepare ourselves. Structural changes are required. That is 1. 2, even when some story develops in some South Africa or some other Asian country, where again, once we have relevant capacities, we should also become partners. And in this large global story, we need to capture that. And what I also want to add is, India is already facing a structural challenge. The kind of growth which we have seen for last 10 odd years or 15 odd years is most unlikely to be sustained unless we address structural challenges which are facing India, just like China.
Okay.
And one of the critical challenges is logistics. So we need to address it even if we have to sustain our growth story. Sustainability is the idea, macro level, micro level.
Okay, sustainability is the key there at both macro and micro level. Thank you so much, Professor Arvind Mohan, as well as Mr. Anil Arora and Professor Charan Singh for sharing your views and insights with our viewers. As our experts were pointing out, there are various challenges when we are trying to put in place the global supply chain management and also address the challenges there. But India remains the cornerstone or remains the key, the answer to many of these challenges at the global level. But first, we will have to take few steps, put our best foot forward and put in those structural challenges which are required. Ball has already been set rolling in terms of infrastructure projects, big ones, and a lot more seems to be coming our way. We'll come back again. Until then, keep watching Sunset Television. Thank you.